I'm Allendale's Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin with a look at your midday weather update. Not a lot of fireworks going on with regard to the weather across the country. We have basically the same kind of scenario that we mentioned in our online write-up this morning. That is scattered showers rumbling across parts of Kansas. Been mostly a gentle rain so far, and there's no reason to deviate from that thought process. We've got the moisture basically along and south of I-70 in Missouri, south of I-70 in Illinois, and even into parts of Indiana, although we've seen a few showers kind of drift farther north in Indiana over the central part of the state. And generally speaking, though, the front that's triggering all of this has sagged southward. That front runs right now from Washington, D.C., through Kentucky, Tennessee, basically right along the Mason-Dixon line, down into central Arkansas, southern Oklahoma, and down into the southern part of the Panhandle in Texas. So the front is sagging south. Most of this moisture will be sagging south with it as it moves east along the front through the rest of the afternoon. So no real major change in thought process there. We're going to actually shift our attention now to the next frontal boundary to work into the forecast area, which should be developing here as we go through the weekend. Now, this front is going to be moving into the Great Plains during the day on Sunday. Still does not look very impressive at all as it moves into the plains. As a matter of fact, I would say that for the most part, the plains will be looking for a quarter-inch or less totals, mostly from eastern North Dakota down through South Dakota, Nebraska, and maybe the northern part of Kansas. I'm just not convinced that we see a lot. Best time frame will be Sunday night into Monday. If we see heavier moisture develop anywhere out of that front, it would be as we head toward midnight Sunday night into early Monday morning, down where the rain is happening right now. Kansas, Oklahoma, Missouri. There's going to be enough leftover moisture in the atmosphere there that we might be able to feed off of that. So those areas, I can say maybe half to 1 inch of rain potential, especially as you go east into Missouri. Then the low really starts to crank up, and as it starts to crank up, it can draw Gulf moisture up in. So the Corn Belt on the whole, I think, could be looking at probably half to 2 inches of rain, maybe a 3-inch total just outside the Corn Belt down into parts of Arkansas and into the deep south. And this is going to be a system that has pretty good coverage. Minnesota might be on the outside looking in as the front just isn't quite ready to get going as it moves through there. But the rest of the Corn Belt, Wisconsin, even central eastern Iowa, on down through to the east, all of those areas are going to be looking at probably 80-90% coverage. So it'll be a good rain first part of next week. That tells us that if you're having harvest delays right now because of some moisture, central, southern Illinois, for example, Missouri, you're probably not going to get back at it till the second half of next week at some point. We'll be done with this moisture most likely by Tuesday, mid to late afternoon, Tuesday night. I'm looking at a dry forecast window then all the way through the rest of next week. I'm going to keep an eye on the 19th right now for maybe a little front that tries to sneak through the upper Midwest, 19th into the 20th. Right now, I don't like the way the GFS is trying to handle this. I think there's too much moisture there. But in any case, it does look like it's going to be a scenario that's going to be I-80 northward. So I don't think it's a huge delay maker. I'm actually looking at a better frontal boundary coming in as we go toward the 24th, 25th, thanks to a strong front that's working into the west coast areas of the United States. So the main takeaway here is going to be continuing to kind of dodge some showers. We're going to have areas that can go, areas that can't, but it really comes down to just working it in when you can. The rains over the next few days, not going to help at all, but I don't think we're going to be looking at super heavy rains either. That 2-inch rain total probably going to be about the worst over parts of the Corn Belt, and even that won't be the norm. That's going to be more on the high end of the range. Going overseas, looking down at South America, models continue to say the extended forecast period has better chances of rain in the central north area of the corn or the soybean belt, where they're maybe a little bit behind and where we're hearing stories of dryness. I'm actually looking at some pretty good rains developing in there. Mato Grosso on eastward as you go from about the 19th on through the 24th, 25th. That's the extended period. I'm going to feel a lot more comfortable with this if we get that thing to hold together, that front to hold together through all the weekend model runs and we get it into the 10-day window. Then I'm really going to get excited about that. Right now, I think I'm fairly confident in moisture being around. I just would really like to zero in on the timing a bit more. I think a few more model runs will be able to do that. Also, keep an eye on the tropics. Things getting a little bit more interesting. I've been kind of harping online for the past few weeks, even a month or more, about how dead the tropics are. They're completely boring. We've got a system that I think is marginal, but probably will be named over the course of the next 24 to 48 hours that we'll stay out to sea. It's northeast of the Leeward Islands right now. And then we've got two more disturbances stacked back off to the west. National Hurricane Center not looking at either of them, but there's the potential there. Other private forecasters are more ramped up on this than I am, but it's something to watch, and we might see a little bit more action. The only one that's really interesting to me is probably the middle one, because the European model continues to bring some action in near the Florida Peninsula around the 19th into the 20th. So we'll keep an eye on that. That could throw a little bit more moisture into the Corn Belt if the trajectory would be just about right. So it's worth watching at this point in time. Outside of that, we don't have any significant thought process to work through. Just have a great weekend, and if you've got any concerns or questions about the weather, give us a call at Allendale. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin.